Hello everyone, in this video I want to talk about the importance of having powerful hardware of the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5, and why in general having this type of powerful hardware is one of the most important things. Why? Because basically it allows developers to unleash their creativity with less limitations. And this is why I want to kind of take you into another state of thinking when making a decision which console to buy, to think about kind of the long run, whether the Xbox Series X will be able to deliver better gameplay experiences than the PlayStation 5 on the longer run. Let's first take a look at a comparison of the sheer drive specs. Alright, let's take a look. Now I know that many people focus on the GPU and just seeing 12 teraflops for the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5 10.3 teraflops made people just think immediately that the Xbox Series X is more powerful than the PlayStation 5. Now we need to understand that there are of course things in common here, right? Both of the systems use PCIe 4.0, NVMe M.2 SSDs. Each one is also customized hardware, of course. They both have AMD's new RDNA 2 GPU architecture and Zen 2 CPUs. And of course both have the same amount of memory, 16 gigabytes GDDR6 memory type. Now of course we can't deny the fact that the Xbox Series X GPU has 1.7 more teraflops. This means more powerful computing speed compared to the PlayStation 5, which should lead to, well, faster and smoother gameplay performance in general. Now, question is whether we will actually see a difference when it comes to actual graphics quality, graphic fidelity in games. Now, we all know that in PC you have graphic settings, so you can improve the graphics quality in games, and it can be quite significant, of course, depends on the game. Now, if there was a game designed dedicatedly, exclusively for the console itself, it will be optimized 100% for that console. This means that if there was, for example, a dedicated exclusive game for the Xbox Series X that a developer really wanted to showcase the capabilities of the hardware, of course you can create kind of a Minecraft style with just cubes. Yeah, I'm just talking about a developer really wanted to create an immersive game with very detailed big open world, for example, maybe with ray tracing involved in the part of the game. This will require, of course, a lot of processing power. And if this was designed specific for the console, we could see a game that really kind of take advantage of the power of the console itself. I mean, like trying to push the limits of what the console is capable of delivering graphics-wise. Now, already see some games, even on PC, that actually developers try to push the limit. They put kind of a bare minimum minimum requirement for a game, and we can see some games require, like for example, I've seen games like they require 1660 Ti, I mean the graphic cards that I have for my laptop, and this is the bare minimum. Of course, you need to understand that when developers go push their games like a bit further into kind of the next gen, what we want to see as next gen when it comes to graphics fidelity, they also limit their audience because people with lower settings won't be able to play them because they need kind of the minimum hardware to run the game. Now, if the game was designed exclusively for the console, you can see why developers have no problem to take advantage of and also test it and benchmark it against a specific console than just trying to fit it kind of all in once, which will be available for many type of platforms and run well. And this of course requires a lot of time and testing and QA to make sure that it performs well on many type of graphics cards, etc. Now, of course, the question is whether the Xbox Series X having this advantage based on technical specs over the PlayStation 5, whether it will translate into better looking games eventually. Now, we know that many of the games that will be available for the Xbox Series X will also be available on the PC as well. So the question is, if there will be a game that will be dedicated for the console to really optimize the game for the Xbox Series X, whether it will be just kind of another PC game which is also playable on the Xbox Series X, if you understand what I mean. Because if not, the developer will need to optimize again the game for the console and also for PCs. Now, let's talk about the PlayStation here, all right? The thing is that we can expect the PlayStation 5 to have console exclusives, and probably quite a few of them. And by the way, we've already seen some of the games, how beautiful they look. Those exclusive, of course, for the PlayStation 4. And this includes games like, of course, even The Last of Us Remastered that look incredible, Last of Us 2, Persona 5 look incredible, Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, although it's now available for PC, Bloodborne. I mean, we're gonna see Bloodborne on the PlayStation 5 if it comes. The next one, I think, is going to look absolutely amazing. We have Spider-Man, for example, God of War, and many other games. Those games were designed to for the PlayStation 5 exclusively, at least at the start, just look amazing on the console. Now, of course, not all of these games take full advantage of the power of the console, but the thing is that if a developer decides to tackle and deliver exclusive game for the PlayStation 5 and really kind of take advantage of their hardware capability to deliver really immersive gameplay experiences, well, they have the power to do so, and we've already seen what they are capable of. Although usually it was kind of maybe a year and a half, 2 years after the console was released. So the thing is, when I see actually how Microsoft is going with this, going with kind of trying to bring games both for the console and the PC, and making sure that the players will also have the option to play with each other, both platforms. And compared to PlayStation, Sony that wants to gamers to have exclusive console exclusive, so they will be able to play it only on the console, and will be encouraged to even buy the console to play certain games, and those games won't be available on PlayStation now, at least quite a lot of time after the game is released. This means that we might see more exclusive console exclusive games that, if the developer decide to develop for them, might look even better compared to a game that was designed for multiple platforms, like on the Xbox Series X and PC. Now, you need to understand that these things are related to development, and there are many complications there when developing a game. But when you develop for a single platform, of course, you're gonna have easier life for that. Later on, you can put more effort to kind of port the game to other platforms, and of course, maybe do this at some point, just to increase sales and be able to reach a larger audience and have better brand awareness, so maybe people are aware of their game and of the company, and ready for the next game, and to get more money in order to develop another probably new IP or a new game or a new chapter in the series of games. So question is, whether we're going to see better looking games eventually on the PlayStation 5 in terms of exclusives compared to what we're going to see on the Xbox Series X, where games will be available for both PC and the console. Now, we need to understand that if the console is more powerful than the other, even to that degree that what we can see from the specs, it doesn't necessarily mean that developers will actually create games that look much better. Right? This you can actually measure if you have two exact games developed for both platforms, and one was actually taking advantage of the extra power of the console to deliver even more kind of a prettier visuals, right? Like we've seen like with the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro with enhanced graphics. Now, there are already many people who already say, wow, the difference is so staggering that we're definitely going to see better looking games, if not in the first lineup, definitely down the road compared to the PlayStation 5. But of course, we need to understand that both consoles are very, very powerful. So we're definitely going to see games that look much better compared to previous generation. Again, the question is to what degree and what the differences will be between the two consoles. And I've also seen some quotes, and this is from Tweaktown. We're going to read some quotes there by developers, by the way. We're actually talking about the PlayStation 5. One of them is What I'm hearing from people are actually working on these consoles is that the Xbox is not significantly more powerful than the PlayStation despite the teraflops numbers. And that the teraflops might be useful measurement in some ways, but ultimately it's a theoretical max speed and there's so many things that could come between. So at least that developer admits that, and this is a PS5 developer, admits that the Xbox Series X technically is more powerful, but it doesn't mean we're going to see from developers something that kind of a significant look more beautiful in terms of graphic fidelity compared to what we're going to see on the PlayStation 5. Now, of course, there is the opposite, and I'm going to read another quote again from tweaktown.com, one of the articles. I'm getting direct messages from developers all the time saying it's a shame because the PS5 is superior in all these other ways. Yeah? That they are not actually able to reveal right now. I've heard from at least 3 different people since the Cerny presentation that the PS5 is actually the more superior hardware in a lot of different ways, despite what we are seeing on spec sheets. Now again, if you just search for it, and of course you're going to find what you want to hear, or maybe if you search just for different opinions, you're going to find opinions for here and there. Eventually it will get to a point where we need to see games and see what developers are working on. And unfortunately, from what we've seen so far, both on the PlayStation and the Xbox presentation, nothing really kind of gave us an impression that, any console is kind of really topping each other, right? And I personally don't trust all these new trailers, whether they're made real time or not. The one thing that I was impressed the most is actually the demonstration of Unreal Engine 5 capabilities. That one, the real time, that was impressive. And that ran on PS5 hardware. So again, it's not just the hardware, there's also the game engine. We've seen different, qualities with different game engines. And I think that the PlayStation 5, developer will, for example, decide to use Unreal Engine 5 for developer game, and considering what we've seen in the demonstration by Epic Games for this Unreal Engine 5, I think we can see incredible looking games on the PS5, although it will also be compatible with a PC, Xbox Series X, so we can expect to see the same on the other console. The other thing is that I don't expect games that are delivered for both consoles to look significantly different. I just don't expect to see that. Maybe there are reasons behind this that are not related directly to the hardware. It's the developer decision to deliver the same kind of gameplay experience to both consoles, not to kind of create kind of big difference between the two. But again, I don't know about that, but maybe there is. But that's something that we need to wait and see. Bottom line is whether we're going to see a big difference. Well, I think there will be some games, not many, that really we can see kind of maybe a difference. But overall, I think that we can expect to see more or less the same kind of experience in terms of graphic fidelity for both platforms. I don't think we're going to see something that we're going to say, wow, look at this Xbox Series game. This one really nailed it. And this is much better looking game than maybe how it looks on the PlayStation 5, or comparable to other kind of titles that try to kind of showcase the graphics capability of the console. We try to create something unique and take advantage of the hardware, the graphics performance of the hardware to create really next-gen type of games. So although I expect some games that launch on both platforms to look good on both of them more or less, not something that can really excel than the other, the question is eventually with the exclusives, right? Games that you can play on one platform that you won't be able to play on the other. But if there is such a game that you will be able to play on one console, not the other, really doesn't matter the difference, right? Because you won't be able to play on the other console anyway. So basically you won't even know if it could have looked better on the other console, right? Because you won't be able to see it because it's just available for a single console. But of course, when it comes to graphics, it really doesn't matter if it's on the other console, right? What matters is that it looks incredible, right? You really kind of be able to experience a next-gen experience, a gameplay experience when it comes to visual fidelity, graphics, maybe very realistic graphics, something that is very immersive, maybe creating kind of really open world, very populated open world that's kind of really amazing with different lighting and particle effects and other kind of graphics enhancement that's really gonna tell you, oh my god, this is something that I haven't seen yet on any platform that I play the game. Now the funny thing is that if you show people like one gameplay and the other one maybe with some enhanced graphics, even if you change it in the PC settings for high to ultra, in some games you see that some people won't be able, or many people won't be able to even tell the difference, right? Sometimes people need to see like really side by side and kind of inspect things with a magnifying glass in order to kind of find things. And sometimes people, what they do just to kind of enhance that, say, wow, this is such a big difference. Well, essentially it might not be a big difference at all, maybe a tiny difference, right? What's important is that you can really feel the different experience, not just see it with your own eyes. Really, this is kind of have an impact on you, the way you experience the game, right? For example, if you play a horror game, really create kind of unique atmosphere with different lighting effects, and maybe you have RTX, so you can really kind of feel kind of scared when you're actually playing a horror game. Or if you play an open world game, we might maybe want to see some really kind of very area with lots of vegetation, very kind of greeny, with everything feels kind of very lively compared to just seeing a desert, which is kind of consume, of course, less power from the system. You can create really big areas. But again, from what I've seen from Unreal Engine 5, this is also game engine related as well, optimized of course for different system. So again, it's not just the console, but also the game engine, and of course also the developer, their creative ability to really deliver amazing gameplay experiences as well. And I don't want to repeat it, but I'm gonna say it. Of course, if you have even great graphics, it doesn't mean that the game is going to be fun to play, right? So question is, next question, whether we will see a really kind of a next gen game on the Xbox Series X that will really take advantage of the amazing hardware that the console has, something that really fundamentally will change the way we actually experience the game. And by that I mean not just taking the this powerful hardware and just delivering beautiful graphics, but also trying to deliver new type of gameplay experiences that we haven't actually experienced because of the lack of power of the system, because that actually limited the developers and made them make a game that is actually more limited in terms of its gameplay mechanics or capabilities. For example, can you imagine playing a battle royale game like Fortnite, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago? I mean, like, how it would become so powerful? We can have really big open world games. Our games like Cyberpunk 2077, like, we have many examples, right? So with each generation, we're going to see kind of developers being able to create different type of gameplay experience that haven't even existed before because the hardware is more powerful. Now, whether we're going to see something like that between the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, well, I don't think we're going to see anything. That this difference in terms of graphic performance will actually allow developers to develop type of games. This, of course, is just the same generation. It won't happen, right? So this is completely out of the question here. So the only thing we are talking about whether there will be difference, visual difference, that we can really distinctive between the two platforms with that kind of a different in specs between the two consoles. And the other thing is whether we actually will find that the PlayStation 5, not theoretically, but actually when you see games, can deliver even more better looking games than the Xbox Series X, because maybe of other things related to hardware that we haven't inspected further on, and whether things related maybe to different ways the developer can develop for the plus, or maybe it's easier for them to kind of utilize the platform properly, maybe because of different game engines that the company owns that is more optimized for a specific platform than another platform. You need to keep in mind that if the game engine is not fully optimized, they won't be able to fully utilize the hardware potential, right? Because you're gonna see probably less of frame rate because the game engine is not optimized. I'm sure many companies, especially big companies, will work on either engines which are already proven, like the popular engine like Unreal Engine and Unity, and some will have their own engine that will be inside the company to support specific games, and those they will need it. It's their responsibility to actually make sure that it's compatible with the hardware. And I think big companies, of course, will do that to make sure that their engine is fully compatible with the new hardware and it can utilize it to the maximum. So bottom line is, let's finish this, it's quite long. There is a difference, and from what I've seen, in favor of the Xbox Series X, but whether I think it will eventually will translate to better looking games, I have a doubt about that. And not just this, I think that because the PlayStation 5 will have more exclusive, console exclusive games, I think we might even see games that even look better. Although you won't be able to tell because it won't be available for the other platform, but will definitely take advantage, full advantage of the hardware capability of the platform, and they're gonna look amazing. So this is it. If you have anything to say it in the comment section below. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you on the next video. Consider subscribing to my channel and giving a like if you find it interesting. I see you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.